Have you been suffering from gas? Then get down with the sass and get ill with skill acquisition syndrome. Skill acquisition syndrome.
Welcome to episode 3 of Skill Acquisition Syndrome, where we let the gas out of our ass. In episodes 1 and 2, we've covered the basics of subtractive synthesis. In this episode, we are going to review visually all of the things that we've learned so far. Today's special guest is the Roland Phantom, a workstation keyboard synthesizer that is near and dear to my heart. This will be most likely the last long episode of SAS that I do for a while. Eventually we're going to get into granular synthesis, FM synthesis, and wavetable synthesis, and explore other odd filter types such as notch, etc. I want to make future videos that are a little bit more concise and less generalized. I'm going to be calling them SAS supplementals. So I want to quit yapping now and let's get into some sound with the Roland Phantom. The Phantom gives us a really great visual overview of the envelopes and the filters. So, this is to reiterate what we've already gone over in episode 1 and 2 of SAS. Here's our attack time. There's a good visual representation of what it does. Maybe bring down the sustain a little bit. Lower the decay. Okay. That's just, there's your attack time. There's your decay. That's when we slow down our attack time. You can see the sound starting here, moving up to a point, and that's the point where the decay kicks in. And we just hold the note down, and it goes away because there's no sustain. So let's give it a little bit of sustain. Now, here's the point that it's going to sustain and remain the same volume. Well, we'll give it a little bit of release time. Let's switch over to the envelope filter now. As you notice, it's the same visual representation as the amp envelope. Now we're switching over to the filter envelope. Now, what I haven't gone over in previous episodes of SAS is the pitch envelope. This is a pretty cool feature. Not all synthesizers have them. Roland synthesizers are definitely famous for utilizing pitch envelopes. And as I've kind of explained before, the filter envelope is animating the amount and movement of the filter. For lack of a better term, automating filter movement in your sound. The pitch envelope does the same, only it does it for the pitch. So it's just altering the pitch the same way it would alter the envelope. It's a cool trick to use if you want to have a sound that glides up and down on its own without using the pitch wheel. I'm going to give you an example where I've used the pitch envelope in a more experimental manner. This is a fun one. This is called Race Car Atari. And I use the pitch envelope to create some chaos. Sounds like a motorcycle engine revving into some sort of bit-crushing territory. Let's take a look at what the filter looks like. So again, on the Phantom, we have a very good visual representation of the filter. And on this unit, I am able to switch between a variety of types of filters. The slope affects how intensely the filter rolls off the frequencies. For my filter type, I'm going to show you the parameters here. I'm going to use a Prophet 5 style filter, and we're going to switch between 12 dB and 24 dB to 18 dB, so you can hear the effect in real time of the different slopes. Here's 12 dB. Here's 18. And here's 24. You'll hear the differences more and more depending on where your envelope settings are and filter settings are. But let's have a visual look at what the filter does. So we're using a Prophet 5 style filter on here, which more or less is just another variation of the low-pass filter. See, there's our cutoff amount. And as we lower the cutoff, we're removing frequencies from the oscillator. Let's see what the resonance does here. See the resonance is creating a little spike at the cutoff point. And as we move the cutoff and the resonant spike, we can hear that self-oscillation. Okay, that's lovely. So let's experiment with different filter types. I'm not going to go through every single one, but just some of the basics. Like a high-pass filter. Let's visually see the difference between the high-pass and the low-pass. The right side of the screen represents the high frequencies, as the left side represents the low frequencies. Turn this down a little bit. I love the high-pass filter, especially in Oberheim synthesizers, where there's the variable state filter. You can continuously switch between low-pass and band-pass and high-pass on an Oberheim synth. But let's look at some other filter types. Band-pass filter. This is an interesting one. Take a look at how this sounds. Now, what's cool about the band pass is you get to pick a specific band at which the frequencies will pass, so you can really narrow it down. You notice your resonance point is directly in the center. Jupiter filter. This is a sound that I've made that uses the pitch envelope amount to great effect. I kick in a little bit of LFO. I always say like less is more with the pitch envelope amount. I just have a little transition right here. In my opinion, the Phantom has the best digital filters that I've ever heard. One of the areas you'll notice how digital sounding the filter is in its resonance peak. If you go too crazy, digital filters have a tendency of becoming very harsh and noisy. Let's review oscillator types. On the Phantom, we have various types of oscillators. So on the Phantom, we have our lovely virtual analog dial. And here's an example of just some raw oscillators. Here's what a saw sounds like. Square wave. Triangle. For me, I find that I like to mix the saw and the square to make brassier sounds. I like to use the triangle to make like electric piano, organ-y type of sounds. But what we don't have on the Prophet synthesizers, but we do have on here on the Phantom and other synthesizers, I believe the Oberheim has the sine wave oscillator, which naturally has a organ type of tone to it. And of course, there's other permutations of different oscillator types, but I tend to stick with these top four, although the Juno is pretty interesting. That's why when I design a sound, I normally just listen for the raw oscillator tone, the initialized oscillator tone. And then I work my way towards the filter envelopes and the amp envelopes. And I will tweak between those parameters and the filter until I'm happy with the sound. And of course, last but not least, is the LFO. So I'm going to switch to another tone I made here. See if this one has any interesting LFO on it. Ah, it does. Of course, that's where the LFO kicks in.